Um, I couldn't
Avtar,
join. I joined.
yeah, Avtar, Meher Baba ki jai. Sorry, we are it's 6 o'clock. Let's get started. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with the seven realities. Ashok, do you want to read?
Okay. The seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. 1. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. The only two, the only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. 3. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, even life itself, are sacrificed. 4. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. 5th, the only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand without expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. 6. The only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. 7. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avtar Meher Baba Ki
Meher
Jai.
Baba ki jai.
Eh. So, you sound very tired today, Ashok. Is it
Uh,
tiredness or you
no, I'm
probably
not well actually. Very frankly, I'm not feeling well, but still I said, let me do the prayer.
lovely, lovely. Appreciate your effort and commitment. May you feel
No,
better soon. What is it? A
no,
fever or something?
it's just some indigestion.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. I'm fine. But just Baba gave me the strength to. I hope it sounded well, but anyway.
I will. I mean, once it goes live, we'll see comments from all your girlfriends. Right now, I think you did well.
No, no girlfriends, yeah. Okay. Jai
Okay.
Baba.
So here we are. We finished in the last session. That was session 19. The first of the supplements, the main supplement, and the main supplement covers all the journeys with the dates and sorted by alphabetical or sorted in alphabetical order by place, and then. Of course, we read only the asterisked items, but it was quite a journey. From there, we go to the additional supplement where he talks about the agents, and we barely started. So let's get to the
Very
additional
interesting.
supplement. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if you recollect, this is where we started. Spiritual agents outside India contacted by Meher Baba. So then there are direct agents, indirect agents, and borrowed agents, right? So the three categories even there. The most famous, I think everybody remembers, is the Albuquerque train station agent, and I think that is the one that's mentioned first. Then we had the a borrowed agent in Barcelona, then Lugano, Switzerland, Moscow, Marseilles, France, and we're starting from Rome. Any volunteers for reading, or should I read for some time?
I can read.
Sure. So
Last
why
time I
don't
stopped. Yeah.
yeah, we can start from Rome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Place Rome, Italy. Date July 1933. He is the direct agent for Europe. Baba and group of his disciples were in the Arangnoval Corso. This man drove very slowly past in the Fiat car, driving the car himself. He was a fattish, middle-aged, blonde-headed man, looking apparently a typical inconspicuous bourgeois citizen.
Bourgeois citizen. Yeah.
Bourgeois citizen. Baba explained that he lived in Rome and had a wife who knew nothing of his spiritual status. Baba calls his direct agent for Europe Cristiano. Cristiano. Okay. Place Santa Margherita, Italy. Date July 1933. A borrowed agent. Kaka first saw him. He was an old man with long hair and beard who was leading a little boy by the hand. As he passed Kaka, he greeted him in the Hindu fashion with hands palm to palm before his face. A little while later, when Baba and the Western group were on the seashore, they noticed this old man with the little boy walking back and forth, the old man glancing frequently in a significant way at Baba. Baba later explained that he was one of his agents and that he was very similar in appearance to another agent whom H, one of his English disciples, would have to contact. Later in Moscow, H, however, had missed seeing him as he was not present on the beach at the time, in spite of having been called by Baba. The result of his not having seen him was that his work in Moscow was made much more difficult. Place Sing Song
Wow.
Prison. Sing Song Prison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ossining, New York, USA. Date December 1931. A
Yeah.
borrowed agent.
Correct.
What is borrowed agent?
Let's just go back and see the description. Borrowed agent is who are many and who receive orders from the indirect agents. So basically, the direct agents are directly in the they are people getting instructions directly from Baba. Indirect agents get directions from direct agents and
Right.
not directly from Baba. Borrowed agents and who receive orders from the indirect agents. So it's like a hierarchy, right? So basically, topmost level is direct agents, uske niche
In
indirect agents, and then uske baad borrowed
yeah.
agents.
What is Shahab? What is see, go. Can you go back, Karthik?
Sahib e
Shahab.
Zaman is avatar, right?
Okay.
Yeah. What's the other one? Sahib e Zaman that they wield on this plane. They act. Yeah, Sahib e Zaman is avatar.
Avatar. I see.
Wait a minute. Is it? I'm confused here. Sahab is Zaman. Is it Avatar or? Let me check that as you continued reading. Right.
Okay.
I think we were at the
Ossining, right? Ossining, New York. We finished
USA.
that.
USA. Yeah.
Sing.
Okay.
This Sing Song Prison, Ossining, New York, USA.
I
Date
never heard
December.
of this. Never heard of this prison. Interesting.
Even
Yeah, Sing
yeah.
Sing is. I heard only from Baba's point of view, but it's still there. I think still there.
Upstate New York?
No, in New York City, New York City.
Oh, is it New York
No, no, no,
City?
no.
Mhm.
No,
No,
no. I
it's
think it's outside. It's Ossining. I mean, it says Ossining NY State, which means that it's outside. Let's just quickly check it. Must be upstate.
yeah. Maps.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Ossining is yeah.
Yeah, it's upstate.
In fact, I've lived for a long time in White Plains. I've never come across this name. So
White Plains is New York, right?
yeah, that's upstate on the way to Connecticut. So
See, it's all comes under New York City only. Yonkers and White
yeah, all
Plains
that is upstate. All that New York
is
State.
all
That's New York State.
suburbs of New York.
Correct. So this is Ossining. Okay, it's much closer to up the Hudson. Okay. That's where you see the red dots. That's
Yeah, near the Hudson, on the river Hudson.
so north of White Plains. So and north of Yonkers. So what we know as Manhattan and the main part of New York is further south, right? Around here.
North.
For the north, yeah. So, okay, interesting. I've never heard of this prison before, so I was curious.
I heard only from Baba's agent's point of view, but otherwise I never heard.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Recently, it
borrowed
was in news. Recently, it was in the news here. Something I forgot what it is. They were talking about in the NPR. Forgot what it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
And by the way, I was to look up something. I forgot what it was. I think it's the morning. I need my coffee.
Oh, the Shahabi.
Yes, Sahab-e-Zaman. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I continue?
Actually, I found it. So let's just finish that and then go.
Yeah.
So Zaman is Avatar, right? Avatar is known as, yeah, of course, Rasul is prophet. I think the Islamic term is Rasul, but Sahib-e-Zaman is the Sufi term, right? So it is Avatar. Okay.
Okay.
Over to you, sir. 1 second. This is a big problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Borrowed agent. Baba was staying at Harman, and late one afternoon, he suddenly said that he wished to go to the prison close by. He was driven to the prison, and a car was halted near the gates. Baba then covered his head in a shawl and sat silent for a while. He afterwards explained that he had an important agent in the prison who would be freed when he, in the bracket, Baba broke his silence. So,
Wow.
so still he's in the jail.
Very good question. That's exactly what came to mind. I don't know. So I'm reminded of another.
This was in
jail
1931, right? So he must
Yeah.
have passed away. I don't know. We
Yeah.
still have patients coming, born in 35, 30s, old patients.
Okay. So I'm reminded of one of the perfect masters who was in jail actually, right? So I don't know enough, but Tajuddin Baba was
Yeah,
in jail.
he was in jail.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was in.
For what? What was the reason?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah,
So
when the English women were playing tennis, he would go naked into the
Oh.
court. But his purpose was to be in jail. He wanted to be in jail. That's why he used that method to go to jail. But he became very popular. Hundreds of people were visiting the jail just to have darshan. Even the police people were, at one time, the police people were thought of collecting some money for visiting him. I don't know whatever happened. Vaguely
So-
remember.
So it happened in the Nagpur, is in the India only.
Nagpur.
Yeah,
Nagpur
yeah,
jail.
yeah, Nagpur jail. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so have you been to his tomb shrine and everything, Ashish? Nagpur?
No, I didn't get the chance. I supposed to go, but I didn't get the chance.
Okay. Okay, so that's all we have on the agents, right? So basically, let's just count it. We
We
have
didn't read all the agents, Karthik.
that's
They're
it. So
actually
it's just
interesting.
the last one was Sing Sing Prison.
Oh, you already
Okay.
read all of the other ones?
Yes. Oh, we
Okay.
didn't did yeah, we read all the other ones. So
Okay.
basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So as of this book,
Is it
the
given
number of
about that Switzerland agent who was a construction worker?
yeah,
Oh, it is given?
whether it's a construction worker, we read last week. One of the powerful times.
He
Let me read
comes.
it again.
Yeah, read again. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Lugano, Switzerland.
Place
He's a
Lugano,
borrowed
Switzerland.
agent.
Yeah, date May 1932. A borrowed agent. Baba and his group were on a steamer on the lake of Lugano. There was an old man dressed in simple, poor clothes on the opposite side of the deck, whom Baba pointed out as one of his agent. One of the group asked how he should know this. Baba then took Dr. Ghani walking stick and asked those about him if they would believe him should the old man tap his own stick in the same way that Baba tapped Dr. Ghani's stick. Baba then tapped Dr. Ghani's stick 2 or 3 times on the deck in a special way, and the old man thought he was not looking at Baba at the time. Tap his stick in exactly the same way. Baba then tapped again in a different way, and the old man again copied his taps exactly. This was done finally a third time, and agent and again repeated exactly. Baba later sent someone to him with a piece of a bread and butter which he ate. So I think this is something different.
Different.
Hmm.
See, what I read, it's I think I don't know where I read it, but probably Lord Meher. Baba Mandali people, they are in somewhere in Switzerland. Where is that? Forgot the city. Mandali wants to go on a tour on a lake on a
Uh-huh.
boat, and Baba said, "Oh yeah, let's go." And then suddenly, one construction worker comes with all his, I mean, dress and all that stuff with the helmet and everything. He sits opposite to Baba, and
Okay.
he rests there for about half an hour, and then gets up and leaves. And before leaving the boat, when it stopped somewhere, he turns to Baba, and Baba nods, and he nods, and leaves. And until then, Baba didn't say anything to the Mandali. And then Baba said he is in my agent, and he was so worked up, he needed some rest. So he gave me the responsibility for half an hour so that he can take a rest. So that's why he came and rested here. And he also said he has wife and children, and the wife and children don't even know that his spiritual status. And if I remember right, Baba said he is in fifth plane or something like that, vaguely. I wonder why that is not included here.
It could be that it appears later in what we are going to read now,
I see.
or it happened after the
After,
1940s.
I see. Could be,
So
yeah.
this was published in 1946, no, 47 or 48.
Mhm.
And what he has done is obviously the book went through multiple rounds of edits and cleanup before publication. And he has created a section called the latest news, which is stuff that happened post starting the writing of the book and the process and period of editing.
I see.
So there's all of it to do with Masts and Baba's contacts. So let's continue the reading. So this is a very interesting book in the sense that the supplements are collectively much more than the main body of the book. So you have an intro, and in fact, I think there are two forewords. So the front matter of the book and the supplement are significantly larger than the core of the book. So, but I had a great time reading this.
Yeah. One more
Yeah.
thing regarding these agents, it didn't mention about the planes. Means like the must. It clearly mentioned about the what plane might be for the
Correct.
each
You're
step.
right. You're right.
Here, yeah.
So it is more than anything. So if you look at the people on the planes, they may have duty, they may not have duty. Duty, I mean, in Baba's dictionary. But the agents have only duty, right? So that's the way I look at agents. So their work is, they are the physical manifestation or the physical aspect of at the command of either Sahib-e-Zaman or the perfect master, as the case may be, to carry out actions limited by a geographic jurisdiction. So this is really the court system or the constituency systems that we are used to today, right? So there is a country, then there is districts, then whatever, right? So in the same way, you have the avatar responsible for the whole of the creation, and then you have agents and indirect agents and borrowed agents under it.
So
Yeah.
agents, I was thinking they are in different planes, I think. Am I wrong
Well,
in saying?
like Ashish said, let's go back here. So
That's what I think I read somewhere, but I'm very vague on that.
there
They
are,
could be at
however,
planes.
God lovers, a few advanced souls, and certain people who are agents. So he does not actually, so these agents are holders of definite and distinct offices. Just as the Christ state, the Nabuwat-e-Muhammadi, or whatever name it is known by, is actually the office held by each Sahab-e-Zaman. So these states of the agents are distinct offices held by certain souls who carry out important work for each Sahib-e-Zaman. On the death of one agent, his office is automatically filled by a successor, for just as there is always a Sahab-e-Zaman or a Sahab-e-Waqt, so also there are always his agents. Now, Sahab-e-Waqt must be uh, perfect master, right? Let's check. Anyway, so as I said, there's no mention of the planes, but highly likely that they are in an advanced state. They are in a higher plane, no doubt, right? So let's get to latest news. Ravi, you want to read for a bit?
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
The first 6 chapters of this book, the supplement and the map, were planned in such a way that they present a complete account of the work of Meher Baba with advanced souls, sadhus, and the poor up to the closing of the Satara Mast Ashram in mid July 1947. This final chapter covers the period from mid July 1947 until 7th March 1948. For a consecutive and complete account of the cavalcade of events. Cavalcade, never heard. Cascade of events, that's what I'm
No,
thinking.
no, no. Cavalcade is a processional, but
Uh-huh.
we'll check. I mean, we are talking Donkins here. You're new to this, I think.
English, English person.
Yeah, so if you look at, we do at least 4 or 5 dictionary references every time. Yeah, processional, formal
Process,
procession of people walking
procession.
on
Okay.
horseback. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Cavalcade of events since July 1947. The reader is referred to the last pages of this chapter, which give a summary of each contact and of each tour. I propose in the pages that follow to be deliberately precipitatic,
Well,
peripatetic,
there's another one. Peripatetic. What is
peripatetic.
that? Traveling from place to place in particular, or based in various places for relatively short periods. So, okay, and so
What are they called?
propose.
They're called something else too, right? In Telugu, we call it the Lambadi people.
Yeah, I propose in the pages to be deliberately both in. Oh, okay. So he's basically going to be out of sequence. So he's not going to be very strict on sequence of time and space.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, go ahead. I propose.
Peripatetic both in time and space. and pick out for a detailed description of few samples of Baba's work that are probably of most general interest. To begin with, a brief note about cha-cha. The valedictory phrases in chapter 2 uttered a premonition of the likelihood of further contacts between Baba and this great seventh plane Mazoob, and this has been borne out of by events. For Baba went to Ajmer in mid-October and contacted Chacha in his hovel near the shrine of Khawaj Shaheb.
Khwaja Sahib. So Ajmer is famous for a perfect master's tomb shrine. It's
Yeah.
Khwaja Ajmer. Garibun Nawaz, which is uh, Muhammad Chisti, I think. That's the name of the perfect master. And
Uh-huh.
Baba went there, and when he
Yeah.
went to Ajmer, he met Chacha again. That's what he's
Chacha, yeah.
talking. Yeah,
He is the seventh plane Mazoob, right?
correct.
Mhm.
So there's a chapter dedicated to Chacha in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I tell about one experience I had?
Sure.
Uh, After my education, my family bought a pharmaceutical business because I was
Mm-hmm.
tired of all this education and everything. So I thought I'm going to give up all the education and maybe start a business. So my family bought me a pharmaceutical business. And since I was a novice, they requested one Baba lover to help me. And it turned out to be, now thinking back, starting a business was just a namakaha thing. It's more for me to interact with this lover. Baba lover's name is Raghavulu, Mr. Raghavulu.
Okay.
Raghavulu had a very close contact with Baba. Baba used to love him a lot. He used to be in Calcutta, and Baba used to even tell him to do some must work. And he used to work in railways.
Wow.
And Baba asked him to contact a must called Tail Must. So he
Teli.
went, huh?
Teli must. There are a couple
Teli
of
Must.
telis that we came across in the supplement.
Did you read that? Okay.
A couple of references to Teli, because either
Okay.
they were using oil, drinking oil, something like that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they have oil all over the body in
Yes,
Calcutta.
yes. It came
Did you
across.
come
We
across
came
in
across.
Calcutta city?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, Teli Baba. Because he used to have oil all the time on his body. And I had a very nice 9 months of contact with him. I worked very close with him. And afternoon, we used to walk to my brother's house, which was very close by. We used to eat lunch, and he used to talk only about Baba, nothing else. And we used to walk back to our houses, on the way. Only Baba information for about 9 months. I was drowned with Baba information. So anyway, to make the story short, so then he told me Tail Must was in seventh plane.
Wow.
So I didn't get any information at the time. And recently, his video was released by Luck. I
Oh,
remember in the olden days, Irvin Luck used to go and met with all the people who met Baba and took video of their talks on Andhra, everywhere. He released that about a year ago. So I heard this Tail Must from him. Then I thought, once you become a God realized Mazoob, why did Baba ask him to contact the Tail Must again? Right?
yeah.
That was my question. I didn't get an answer for a few days. And finally, I wrote a thing to Vidyavati. And
Okay.
what she answered me, Ravi Garu, you read God Speaks and you know about this information. That's all she answered. Then I realized, oh, the mazoops, when they need to become Jivan Muktas, the avatars and perfect masters have to work on them. That is the reason why Baba and perfect masters work on these mazoops.
Wow. So, by the way, I asked Sanjay also. Sanjay also mentioned about this must video. So I would be happy to put a link somewhere and also share it. So kindly share it with me if you find it.
I
I
did.
tried looking for it by
I
searching
did,
on
right? I
YouTube.
did. Didn't I do that?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Apologies if you did, but I
I
tried
think
finding it. I could not. So here is Teli Wale Mast, 1943, October 13. A good must who smears cooking oil all over
yes,
his
yes,
body
yes.
and drinks oil, tail,
Okay.
hence his name. This is Teli Wala Mast.
In
And
Calcutta?
it
Is it in
is,
Calcutta?
yes, it is Calcutta.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This was contacted by Raghav Garu at the
Okay.
time. Yeah, I think in God's hand. No, no, not in God's hand. What is that? Yeah. Where shall I post it? I think I'll send it. I'll send you by.
Now we are on email regularly. You can even drop an email. Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Because nobody's doing that. Whatever the other thing. We're all used to WhatsApp. What is the other thing you're doing?
Telegram. So we
Telegram.
are still active on that. So you can send me on WhatsApp as well. No problem.
Okay.
So let's start from Ajmer. Chacha, and then now we are at from Ajmer. Yeah.
Oh, from Ajmer, Baba turned south to Baroda, where took place a contact of such provocative interest that it deserves to be described in detail. To those around Baba, it has always been a topic of conjecture as to why one who is spiritually perfect should pursue with a tireless determination others less advanced than himself, and more still, why in the course of this work he should exhibit such a tolerance with the caprices of these wayfarers on the path. We do, of course, possess Baba's explanation of his patience with these souls, for he has so told us that he must pander to their whims in order to get them into the right mood for his work. But what the work itself is, we do not know, except that the demonstrate diligence of Baba is, in a sense, a measure of the importance he attaches to his work with these strange people. The following encounter is therefore an amusing illustration of how a mass must may behave and of how Baba puts up with his behavior. Chambu Shah is a fifth plane mast, sometimes Salik like, sometimes Mazoob like. He lives in Motiwada, a part of Baroda city. Baba had contacted him for the first time in September 1947 on an earlier visit to Baroda. But it was this second visit in October that was so interesting. Chambu Shah is fat with full cheeks and a cheerful face, and his appearance suggests untidiness rather than dirtiness. He potters in and out of body houses. Where what is body house?
Two words. Continue.
Where he gossips with Phyllis de Joy.
So we'll
What
look
is
it up.
Phyllis de Joy?
Yeah. Let's enjoy. Wow. Prostitute. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Oh,
So body house must be that kind of a house, brothel.
Oh, okay.
All right. He
Body
potters in and
houses
out
where
of
he
body
gossips
houses. Yeah.
with Phyllis D. Joy. He is. Is the French word or what? Phyllis D. Joy.
Yes, it is French.
Okay. He is given to salacious banter, but his
Oh.
salacious banter. What is salacious banter?
Salacious banter is, I mean, it's just basically, uh, 1 second. Before that, persiflage. Persiflate and slightly contemptuous mockery or banter.
Mhm.
Contemptuous. So that's the key word is contemptuous here. Salacious is conveying undue or inappropriate interest in sexual matters. So Chacha is a fun guy. Go ahead.
He's he's given to salacious banter, but his persiflage, if considered honestly, is a piercing commentary on the tragic comedy of human frailty, and his personal chastity is unchallenged, for he is held in the greatest reverence by those whose avocation reveals to them more perhaps of human weaknesses than any other profession. At the outset, on 22nd October, Chambu Shah asked Baba for tea and cigarettes, and when these had been procured and given him, he demanded a lungi and a shirt. These two were brought and given to him. Chambu Shah then removed his own clothes and handing them to Baba, told him to put them on. This Baba did later the same day. Finally, Chambu Shah told Baba to come back next morning at 5 a.m. The next morning at 5 a.m. promptly, Baba and his men arrived at the house. Chambu Shah was then inside the house and the door was locked. But in reply to some battering on the door, he shouted through the window that Baba should wait on the veranda. And so, for the best part of an hour, Baba and his men tarried outside the door until the tireless servant, dawn, swept the ashes of night from the sky. During this period of waiting, Baba's men did not sit in silence of idleness, but persistently reminded Chambu Shah that he had told them to come at 5 o'clock, and that it was now well past that hour. Finally, the landlord of the house, Chambu Shah, lived in this man's house, persuaded Chambu Shah to allow the door to be opened, and Baba entered the room and sat with the must for a while. You know, it is amazing. Avatar with his status, waiting for a must, you know, who
For
was
hours.
for hours just because of his whims and fancies, Such is Baba's love. Amazing.
Yeah.
As soon as this contact was concluded, Chambu Shah told Baba to come back again at 2 p.m. And so at 2 p.m., Baba came again and sat with Chambu Shah as before. So far, so good. And so far, nothing perhaps very extraordinary when we remember that this history concerns the conduct of a God intoxicated soul. But now we find a reversal of custom, for it is generally Baba who tirelessly pursues the must, while the must strives as often as not to evade contact with Baba. Here, however, we find Chambusha insisting that Baba should come back to him again and again, for immediately after the contact on the afternoon of 23rd October, Chambusha told Baba to come to him again the next morning at 5 a.m. Nor was this the last of it, for when Baba went the next morning, he was told to come again at 2 p.m. And nor was this and last of it, for at 2 p.m. after contact, Baba was instructed to come at 5 the following morning and bring with him a bandi. What is bandi? Or note for them, a Bundy rhymes for the Grundy in a short cotton coat, a hybrid between a waistcoat and a coat.
Something like a band gala or a bandi or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, Bundy. And a coat. And so a Bundy was purchased, and a coat belonging to one of Baba's men was made ready, and Baba presented these clothes to Chambu Shah the next morning. After contact, as the reader will now guess, Baba was told to come back again at 2 p.m.
Wow. Wow.
5 a.m. and 2 p.m. 5 a.m. would these reiterated and unchanging invitations never cease. Baba had seen Chambusha first on the afternoon of 22nd October, and for 3 days he had come faithfully twice each day to Chambusha at the time specified. Baidul was therefore ordered to protest to Chambu Shah that the Sahib, that is Baba, must now leave Baroda. But Chambu Shah, after listening to Baidul's explanation, was obdurate and insisted that Baba should return to him at 2 p.m. At 2 p.m., however, this was now the 25th, the final scene was played, for immediately after this contact, Baba directed Urich to enter Chambusha's room and tell the Mast that the work was finished, and that Baba, not of course mentioning his name, but referring to him as the Sahib, must now leave Baroda as he had other work to do. Chambusha replied, "Give my greetings to Sahib, tell him the work is finished, and ask him to give my greetings to the ladies." At the same time, he handed Urich the bandi, shirt, and a coat, and several packets of cigarettes and matches that had been given to him by Baba, and unwinding a dirty turban from his head, gave that to Urich also. In connection with these clothes, he said to Urich, "Give the turban, the matches, and the cigarettes to Sahib, and return the coat, bandi, and shirt to whomsoever they belong." And finally added, "The whole world is finished."
Wow.
Interesting, huh? The,
Very
in,
interesting.
the instructions concerning the cloths were scrupulously carried out, and the bandi and shirt were returned to the shopkeeper from whom they had been purchased. Those interested in such transactions may be amused to learn that half the original cost of these two garments was refunded by the merchant when they were returned to him. In another part of this volume, mention had been made of an explanation by Baba that a must's clothes and the medley of things he keeps by him have some inner significance. It is probable, therefore, that these sartorial exchanges between Chambusha and Baba had some spiritual meaning of which we know nothing. The desire of Chambusha for repeated contacts with Baba must unfortunately remain an enigma to us. A few weeks after going to Pimpalgaon in September, Baba had explained that he wished to sit in seclusion upon a hill. The pros and cons of various hills were discussed, with the result that a little hill known as Tembi, that stands but the third part of a mile behind Baba Center at Pimpalagaon, was selected. Its two virtues were, firstly, that it was close to Baba Center at Pimpalgaon, and secondly, that it was so narrow and so steep that it was seldom visited by strangers and local shepherds. The summit of Tembi was so small that there was room, and only just room, for a hut 10 feet by 12 feet to be set foursquare upon it. Since it was Baba's desire that two huts should be put up, a second was therefore planted upon a shoulder of the same hill, perhaps 50 feet below the summit. On 5th December, Ali Shah, the great Jamali Mast, was brought to Pimpalgaon, and at sunset was carried up the hill and made comfortable in the lower hut. About 15 minutes later, with the western sky, a tracery of golden Cyrus, and the distant hills as blue as sapphire, Baba made his way up the hill. It was a memorable evening, strange and timeless. For 12 days, Baba remained on this hill, and each day from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m., he sat with Ali Shah in the lower hut. Apart from these 3 hours with Ali Shah, Baba spent the greater part of the day in the hut upon the summit of the hill. Early in January 1948, a new phase began. A circular letter was sent to hundreds of Baba's devotees informing them of a program of work and inviting them to carry out certain instructions for a period of 25 days from 1st to 25th February. The program was divided into three parts. The first part, work with Masts at Pimpalgaon. The second, contact with 4,000 sadhus at Allahabad. And the third, a distribution of grain and cloth to 4,000 poor of Ahmednagar district. The first phase began at Pimpalgaon on 18th January when Ali Shah was brought there and stayed for 10 days. Baba sat with him daily for 3 hours. After Ali Shah left, one or two others were brought for Baba's contact, and these men of secondary importance are described briefly at the end of the chapter. On the 7th February, Baba left Pimpalgaon for Allahabad to complete the second phase of his plan. In the supplement, a brief description is given of the great Kumbh Mela at Allahabad in December 1941, when Baba contacted over 7,000 sadhus. This great fair is held once every 12 years, but at half time, that is to say, every 6 years, a fair known as the Ardha Kumbh Mela, half Kumbh Mela, takes place. Bapa's visit to Allahabad in February 1948 coincided with one of the great days of Ardha Kumbh Mela, the day known as Amavasya, the day of the new moon, when the sadhus bathed at the confluence of the two sacred rivers, the Jamna and the Ganges. His visit also took place only 3 days before the ashes of Mahatma Gandhi were immersed in these hallowed waters. I have a question. What was the? Can you go back on one page?
Yeah.
Question. Where's the question I had? Oh, there was also Baba in Kumbh Mela touched 100,000 sadhus' feet. That is also there. I wonder, is that some different time than this?
No, I think here it's not 100,000 for sure. The only reference we found was the contact with 7,000 sadhus. And even there, it's not clear if it was, individual contact or it was a group contact. So maybe it was another Kumbh. I don't know.
Kumbh Mela, I think so.
Yeah.
Because Bhav Kalchari used to tell us that he touched feet of 100,000 sadhus.
Okay.
That's what Bhav Kalchari told us, but I don't remember where I. Okay. On the 9th February at dawn, Baba and his man went to the fairgrounds. Estimates of the multitude varied from a minimum of 500,000 to maximum 2 million, and it was said there were about 30,000 sadhus present on that day. This fair is principally a convocation of sadhus of diverse sects. Diverse sects.
I think it's typo.
Diverse. Huh?
Yeah, there's a E missing, typo.
The fairground is dissected into divisions known as akadas.
Akhada is basically sect or, it's a grouping.
And each akada is reserved for a different sect of sadhus. Baba, as usual, did not allow these with him to witness his labor of personal contact, so that a description of the work itself is out of the question. He ordered some of his men to accompany him to the entrance of each akada. and then entered the Akada, contacted the sadhu therein, and emerged to pass on to the next Akada. In this way, beginning at 7 a.m., he contacted 4,000 sadhus by 10 a.m., completing the entire work in 3 hours. After the work was over, he told those with him that among all those he had contacted, there were but 7 advanced souls. Wow.
It's
Rest
a
of
very
them,
low, it's a very bad statistic, right? 7 out of 4,000.
4,000.
And they're all rishis and sadhus in the gross world understanding, or in the Hindu tradition, the way we look at it. If you look at Kumbh Mela and Akhada mein sadhu, then we think, oh, they're all advanced.
Yeah. Having completed this great work at Allahabad, he entered for Bombay, entrained for Bombay. On this itinerary, to and from Allahabad, Baba passed through Bombay, both on the way up to Allahabad and again on the return journey to Pimpalgaon. And on both these occasions, he contacted Masts in Bombay. Since 1922, Baba has not contacted advanced souls in this great city. And so these 2 days, 7th February and 11th February 1948, may be engraved in rubrics as dates of importance, particularly perhaps to the many disciples of Baba who live in Bombay. On 7th February, the most interesting contact was with one member of a family, and a large family at that, all of whom, with one exception, are God intoxicated. I remember this. Yeah, that family, all of them except one are musts. The whole
Wow.
family lives. Yeah. This family consists of 2 brothers and 7 sisters. Yeah, 7 sisters who live in a certain house near the shrine of Mukdam Shah in Mahim.
Oh,
But
Makhdum Shah.
Mukdam Shah in Mahim area. One other brother, the eldest of the family, lives apart and conforms to current conventions of normality. This eldest brother sees to the needs of these 9 brothers and sisters, all of whom are musts. So, eldest brother is not a must, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He is more in a gross plane who takes care of the regular. Probably he is also advanced.
Hmm.
This eldest brother
Is it
sees that.
10 siblings in all? 2 brothers and 7, 9. But then in the next
Uh-huh.
line, he says he sees to the needs of 9 brothers and sisters. So it's a little confusing, but it's okay. Keep going.
Yeah.
The 7
Well,
Mastani sisters. Yeah.
yeah. One other brother, the eldest of the family, lives apart and conforms to current conventions of the family. This eldest brother sees to the needs of his 9 brothers and sisters. See, sisters, he left it, right? So, all of whom are musts and mastanis. The 7 mastani sisters are apparently able to prepare meals for themselves and for 2 mast brothers, although they never leave the house. All the 7 sisters
Wow.
and 2 brothers are Madarzad Mas. What is Madarzad Mas?
Madarsad is basically born Mas.
Oh, I see, I see. Yes, yes. I remember that. Musts from birth, and they are, therefore, indistinguishable from ordinary mad people. One of these brothers has shut himself in a room which he allows no one to enter, though his sister put a plate of food outside the door each day. The other, known as Ali Akbar Baba, lives on the veranda. Ali Akbar Baba is about 32 years old, although he looks twice that age. Like most must, he is utterly insouciant. What is that, Karthik? Insouciant.
We will look it up. Showing a casual lack of concern. Okay.
Mm,
Careless or
casual, like.
unconcerned.
Mhm.
Unconcerned and yeah.
Yeah. And utterly filthy. And until some years ago, he was so aggressive that he was kept in chains. People grim him sweetmeats, and he throws them in the dirt and then eats them, plastered with dirt. Baba sat with Ali Akbar Baba for about 5 minutes and gave him a cigarette. It is said that the father of this strange family was a saint.
Wow.
Interesting family, huh?
Very interesting.
The other contact of interest on 7th February was with a high mast in Kaloba, near the southern
Kolaba.
extremity. Kolaba, yeah. That is where the hotel is there, right? What is that, Ashok Hotel? Taj Mahal Hotel.
I'm not very familiar with Bombay, but yeah, it's one of the old prominent neighborhoods.
Okay, yeah. Southern extremity of the island of Bombay. This mast is known as Jafar Shah Mast, or more commonly as Pathan Baba. He speaks mostly in Persian. He is a mast of the fifth plane, whom Baba describes as 75% Salik-like and 25% Mazub-like. His choice of habitation is an illustration of the preference of Mus for an environment that would be repugnant to the average man, for he lives under the tattered remains of a tent immediately behind a public convenience, and this convenience is situated in a municipal park for conservancy carts. What is conservancy carts?
I think it's just trash removal, and conservancy is basically the municipality.
Garbage.
Yeah. Natural resources for conservation of whatever. Yeah. So I think
Okay.
the British meaning is more to do with municipal functions. Okay. Hi, Sunil. Hi, Namita. Namita, either of you want to read for some time? Namita rarely reads.
Namita, request to you. You want to read or I read? Okay, I'll read. She passed the
Please.
baton to me.
Okay. Jai Baba Sunil, you are back in
Jai
Singapore?
Baba. Yes, I'm back in Singapore. So we start from Pathan Baba.
Yes, you barely joined. You barely jumped in. So I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
No,
But
that's fine. That's fine.
we are reading the supplement. Post the supplement, there is a section called the latest news, which is nothing but a series of events that have happened after the book was almost ready, right? So this is the period 1947 and 1948. We covered Chambu Baba of Ajmer, and now we are going through this family of musts in Bombay. Now we move to Pathan Baba. Yeah.
Okay, great. So Pathan Baba is an old man with long white hair and beard, and he has an agreeable personality. Each morning he anoints, I don't know how to read that word, A-N-O-I-N-T-S, anoints his hands and feet with butter and flour, and then wraps his hands and feet in a piece of white cloth. It appears that many years ago he was a great drinker of raw spirits, which he would consume by a glassful without, it said, showing any signs of intoxication. A few weeks before this contact with Baba in Bombay, Baidul had tried to bring Pathan Baba to Pimpalgaon. Pathan Baba, however, refused to come, saying, "I'm always near him, Baba, but let him be near me now." Baba sat with Pathan Baba twice on 7th February and gave him 11 rupees. Raviji, would
Ravi,
you kindly
you can mute.
The contact on 11th February was undoubtedly the most important of all in Bombay.
I'll mute Ravi.
All
He's
right,
away
okay.
from the computer. Go ahead.
Yeah, could be. I have an emergency here, Karthik. Could you take over, please? Sorry.
Sure. No problem.
Sorry.
I'll continue from this point. The contact on 11th February was undoubtedly the most important of all in Bombay. After a long journey by train, particularly in India, the first desire of the average traveler is to wipe away the dross of nights and days of locomotion by a bath, a meal, and a few hours of rest. With Baba, however, work is ever the first consideration, and as soon as the train from Allahabad reached Victoria Terminus on the early morning of 11th February, Baba went at once to contact Umar Baba, the spiritual chargeman of Bombay. Umar Baba is a man of ferocious aspect, a sixth plane must in a complete Majzoob-like state, and is at times so violent that people fear to come near him. In spite of this, he is very greatly respected throughout Bombay and very widely known. He is past middle age and has long black hair and a long white beard, and is often to be seen pacing to and fro with a furious look on his face. Up to a few years ago, the spiritual chargeman of Bombay was Tippu Baba, who died in 1944. In those days, Umar Baba was usually to be found near that part of the Bombay docks known colloquially as Bhau Ka Dhakka. Certainly, every Indian, and possibly also many outside India, will remember that in April 1944, Bombay was shaken by a ghastly explosion that destroyed much of Bombay docks, a large section of the adjacent city, and an uncounted number of lives. The two ships whose explosion caused all this devastation lay in a wharf at Bhau Ka Dhakka, not far from where Umar Baba used to live. A few days before the explosion, it is said Umar Baba told a certain tea shop proprietor who used to often give him tea that he should move away from the dock area at once, or he would most certainly be killed. This man followed Umar Baba's advice. Umar Baba also told many others to go away, assuring them that unless they did so, they would die. On the day before the explosion, Umar Baba left Bhau Ka Dhakka and came to the Juna Kabristan, the old graveyard on Grant Road. After the cataclysm of the explosion, those who had heard and followed Umar Baba's exhortation to move away from the docks began to disseminate his prophetic warning, so that the renown of this great must was spread far and wide. Not long after this explosion, Tipu Baba passed away and was buried in the Juna Kabristan. Umar Baba then went and lived in this Juna Kabristan in the heart of the city, and since the death of Tipu Baba, he has been the spiritual chargeman of Bombay. When Baba entered the graveyard early on the morning of 11th February, Umar Baba was still apparently asleep, and his Mujawar was manifestly fast asleep by his side. Mujawar is his manservant, valet, whatever. As soon as Baba approached to within a few yards of Umar Baba, the mast arose, and one of the Baba's men shook the Mujawar by the shoulder, asking him why he slept when his guru was awake. The Mujawar got up at once and was asked to persuade Umar Baba to sit with Baba for contact. This was done, and Baba sat with Umar Baba for a short while. Baba, who was extremely happy at the successful issue to his work, gave the Mujawar an ample reward. After the turn of the new year, in January 1948, if one entered the storeroom next to the main hall at Mehrabad, one's passage was almost barred by a pile of bundles amassed in the center of the floor. Each evening, too, under the glare of the Petromax lamp, one would listen to descriptions by certain of the mandali of villages in Ahmednagar district that had been visited, and would hear how tickets were being distributed in these villages to thousands of poor. These activities and discussions were the outer and visible signs of a complex plan for the distribution by Baba of cloth and grain to 4,000 poor of Ahmednagar district and for the washing of their feet. This was the third and final phase of Baba's plan. This final phase of the plan demanded much organization, and Baba's men were therefore grateful for the help of several friends who, by reason of their eminence in political life, and their vivid interest in social and rural problems were able to select focal points of economic distress. These friends had also command over bands of social workers in each village. These cheerful and willing workers, many of them mere youngsters, were responsible for the ultimate selection of those who should be called for Baba's contact. And to each one of their choice, they gave a numbered ticket with the word Prasad printed upon it. Baba's name was kept a close secret. Note for Westerners, prasad is a word that can have such fine nuances of interpretation in the minds of different people that it is difficult to define it to everyone's satisfaction. It is broadly something that is given to others by a saintly personality or something that has been dedicated first to God and then distributed at large in God's name. In either case, the prasad is a gift that anyone, be he king or beggar, feels it a privilege to receive. The actual material or monetary value of prasad is of no real importance since the essence of it is that it is a vehicle for a spiritual and unseen gift of grace and weal that goes with it. So that's prasad. The plan in its entirety was far too intricate to be described in detail, for the 4,000 poor were spread amongst 5 widely dispersed centers. There was, inevitably, an abundant measure of complex preparation, and much work was done, with much faith and love. Perhaps the best way to convey something of the feeling of this great work of Baba is to try to take the reader in imagination to Kotul, the first place of distribution, on 16th February. From Pimplegaon, on clear evenings after rain, there is a confusion of mountains visible across the northwestern horizon. One of these is Kalsubai, the highest point of the Western Ghats, and the others are consort peaks that cluster around their queen as if to pay homage to her. I'll come back to the photographs. Nestling near the feet of these mountains lies the village of Kotul. It is a savage place, populated by the poorest sort of peasants who eke out a pittance from the soil. Their main crop is rice, but their economic plight is so desperate that for several months each year they subsist on edible wild roots. Since Baba planned to begin his work early in the morning, those who were to share in the program arose at 2 a.m. and sped through the cool and fragrant night over 80 miles of abominable roads and reached Kotul shortly after dawn. On that auspicious day, the center of interest at Kotul was the Dak Bungalow. Imagine a small, square house surrounded by giant mango trees that gave ample shade. Soon after sunrise, the compound began to echo with the gossip of clusters of poor country folk who were directed to sit in lines under the great trees, the men in one place and the women in another. This work of managing the crowd was carried out with the conspicuous gentleness and efficiency by a band of spruce youngsters clad in white clothes and caps. Not far from the growing lines of men and women, one saw, half veiled in smoke and shadow, great vessels lying over fires in which water was being warmed for the washing of the feet. Shortly after 8 a.m., Baba arrived and the day's work began. One by one, these peasants filed into a small bathroom and were guided to stand on a low wooden stool. As each one paused for a moment on the stool, Baba poured a vessel of water over their feet, pouring the water with one hand and passing his other hand in one gentle sweep over their feet. The identity of Baba was not revealed, so that no one knew who it was who thus washed their feet in utter humility. As the peasants went out, their feet were dried with a towel, and this work was shared by different members of the mandali. As they filed out after having their feet washed and dried, each man or woman was invited to sit in a line and await distribution of the bundles. This is so realistically described, but I'm sure all of us have seen videos of similar episodes that Baba has done. After Baba emerged from the bathroom, he went to the room where the bundles were stacked. The windows of this room were closed by screens of cloth, and the two doors on two adjacent sides of the room were joined one to the other by two curtains of dark blue cloth. These curtains made a narrow passage from door to door. Midway along this passage, there was a gap in the continuity of the curtain on one side, so that a small recess was created where Baba sat upon a mattress placed on the floor. About him, on all sides, were piles of bundles, each made up of 8 pounds of jawar, grain, bound snugly in a length of good white cloth. This final aspect of Baba's work cannot be described because it was done in complete seclusion, and no one except the peasants themselves was allowed to observe what Baba did. It was to ensure an utter and absolute privacy that the curtains had been erected and the windows blocked up. One only knew that each peasant entered at one door, passed along this narrow corridor, was handled a bundle by Baba, and emerged from the door at the other end. Standing near this further door as each one emerged, one had leisure to observe the plight of these poor people. I do not think there was one on that day whose garments were not in rags, and their faces were studies in the structure of the human skull. Wow. Patient eyes shone from deep sockets, and cheeks were hollowed by months and years of hunger. On that day, over 1,000 men and women were blessed by the treasure of Baba's touch, and the burden of their poverty was lightened, if only for a short while, by a little grain and a little cloth. This memorable day at Kotul was but a fragment of the entire work of distribution to the poor, and for the details of the other places visited by Baba, the reader is referred to the notes at the close of this chapter. This great work of Baba does not close with the final words of this final chapter. That it is a great work in the literal sense may be seen by the extensive proportions of this book and its supplement. But the mere words in this book convey nothing more than an occasional hint that the outer and tangible mold of Meher Baba's work with advanced souls, sadhus, and the poor has an inner substantiality that is immeasurably greater. We may only bear witness to our belief in this, though we may never prove it to a skeptical world. Wow. Let's go back and see those beautiful photographs. The bundles, the pile of bundles in the storeroom at Mehrabad, the sacks on the right give an idea of the scale. Oh, these are sacks.
So this happened
near to 80 miles from Pimpalgaon. So 80 miles from Mehrazad at a place called Kotul. I mean, it happened in 5 different places in Ahmednagar district. The only description that we read is Kotul, the first one.
Yeah.
A corner of the crowd gathered in the school compound at Parner. So that's another place for the Prasad. Baba's car enters the gate, right there. Okay. Water being carried for washing the feet, a photo at Kharda. So that's another name. Kharda on 20th February. Baba ready to start his work of washing the feet. Note the low stool in front of him on which each man and woman will stand. Lovely. Baba. Baba at work in Kharda, a woman is standing on the stool while her feet are washed. Baba at Kharda, where over 1,000 people were contacted. So these are not done in the Kotul model. In the yeah, okay. I think the washing was public, the gifting was private, or giving the bundles was private. Two of the bundlee wiping the feet during the distribution at Kharda. Okay, so after he washed, the mandali wiped. Two men leaving, clasping the bundles they have just received from Baba. Okay. Interesting. Any thoughts?
I can read next, Karthik.
Sure, please. Any thoughts? Any reactions? It's also moving.
So Baba did a lot of work like this, right? Means which I didn't know. Like
Yeah, I think the detail that is given by Donkins is so amazing, but it gives you, I mean, it's the magnitude and the detail is just mind-boggling. And the more I read, the more I'm convinced. Okay, so here's another map showing the work of Meher Baba with advanced souls, sadhus, and the poor from mid-July 1947 until March 1948. The scope of what we are reading now. So Ajmer, Allahabad, Mount Abu, Abu Road, Ahmedabad, Baroda, Surat, Palghar, Bombay, Pune, and then there's an enlargement, Aurangabad, Parli, Tuljapur, Zahirabad, Hyderabad, Secunderabad, and the enlargement shows the places that the 4,000 people. So there's Visapur, Parner, Pimpalgaon, Varnbori, Kotul, Kharda. So all of them within the Ahmednagar district. Enlargement of Ahmednagar district showing the centers visited by Meher Baba for the distribution of the poor. English miles, he says. Map showing the places mentioned in this summary. Okay. The latest news, last chapter. The following pages give a complete chronological summary of Meher Baba's work with the advanced souls and the poor from mid-July 1947 until 7th March 1948. So we quickly go through this. Ashish, you want to read?
yeah. So date 14 July 1947. Notes: the Sataram Mast ashram was closed and the departure of Ali Shah. 10th August 1947. Baba left Satara by car to contact advanced souls in Hyderabad state. He visited Aurangabad, Purli, Tuzapur, Hyderabad, Sikandrabad, and Zahirabad. See the notes that follow for details. Notes might be at the bottom, probably.
Yeah, after this. So we'll go in sequence. Don't.
Yeah. 11th August 1947. Contact with two musts in Aurangabad. In Aurangabad on 11th August, Baba renewed contact with two very great musts, My Bap and Captain. The photo of Captain in the supplement was taken on this occasion. If the reader has been so discomfited by the thorny appearance of the supplement that he has so far given it a wide berth, I would urge him to turn back to the relevant pages and read under Aurangabad the description of Baba's first contact with these two great musts. The early contacts with My Bap were particularly interesting. On this last contact on 11th August 1947, it was learned that My Bap's real name is Mahbub Mia, though the name My Bap is still his most popular sobriquet. 12th August 1947. Contact with an advanced pilgrim in Purli. He is known as Tulsi Maharaj. He is an old man who has sat in one place for a very long time. 12th August 1947. Contact with four men in Tuzapur. The first of these was an old man known as Bharati Maharaj, a sincere seeker. The second was Garib Nath Maharaj, an old man said to be 92 years of age, the head of an ashram in Tuzapur. It appears that he was dwelt in the ashram ever since childhood. He is a seeker. The other two were of no special merit and were known as Dandigar Baba, a moderate must of the eight type, and Brahmachari, an old man who lives in a temple. 13 August 19...
Tuljapur is the Bhavani temple location.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
famous Bhavani temple there. Yeah.
yeah. 13th August 1947. Baba reached Hyderabad and contacted 6 Musts there. 5 of these contacts were with Must whom he had contacted first during his stay in Hyderabad in 1945. Of these 5 old friends, the 3 most important were Ghulam Hussain, a very high Salik-like Must; Rajia, a comic Must but a good one, who has a hole in his throat; and a Mama Must, an old man with a bushy white mustache who smokes cigars. The early contacts with these Musts are fully described in the supplement under Hyderabad. The other 2 contacted on this day, whom Baba had originally contacted in 1945 also, were Pinjarwala Baba and Ashak Mia. Pinjarwala Baba, alias Mohiuddin Baba or Nani Mia, is a good Must who lives in a kind of cage, Pinjra. Ashak Mia is a moderate Must who lives outside the certain mosque. One new soul was contacted on this visit to Hyderabad, a tall man in the dirty clothes who wanders about the city and sits. When he feels inclined under a certain tree, he is known as Murshid and is moderate Must. 30th August 1947.
Some of these I remember reading in the supplement, not all of them, but we would have read only the asterisk ones. Yeah. Go ahead.
30th August 1947. Baba visited Sikandrabad and contacted one Must there known as Murshid. This same Murshid was also contacted first in 1945. He is a good Must who lives in Milkman's hut. There is a photo of Murshid in the supplement that was actually taken at the time of contact on 13th August. 14 August 1947. Baba visited Zahirabad and contacted a Must there known as a Mahbub Sahib Must. He is of no particular interest except that he is said once to have been bitten by a cobra and survived. Since a bite from a cobra is almost invariably fatal, this in true is unusual to say the least. 10th September 1947. Baba returned to his headquarters at Satara. 27 August 1947. Baba and his party left Satara by car and returned to Mehrabad. 10th September 1947. Baba and a small group of disciples left Mehrabad for Pimpalgaon. Mid-September 1947. Baba left Pimpalgaon for Surat, where many hundreds came to take his darshan. The description of this program is outside the scope of this book, and we will therefore progress to an account of Baba's contacts with advanced soul that immediately followed the conclusion of this program. 20 September 1947. Baba left Surat after the conclusion of the program of darshan and set forth of a brief tour of Gujarat and Rajputana for contact with advanced souls. He visited the following places: Baroda, Ahmedabad, Abu Road, Mount Abu Road second visit, and then returned to Pimpalgaon. See the notes that follow for details of contacts in this tour. 21st September 1947. Baba arrived in the Baroda, where he contacted 2 Must and one initiated pilgrim. The most interesting of the 2 Must was Chambu Shah. In the early pages of this chapter, a very detailed description is given of Baba's subsequent contacts. In October, with this great fifth plain Must, only a month after this first contact. He needs therefore no further description here. Sayyid Badruddin Rafai Shah. The other Must contacted on this visit is an old man who for 33 years has remained in a room on an upper floor. He takes food only once a day, and at a times when in a mazoob-like state. He eats nothing for several days. He is a sixth plain Must, sometimes mazoob-like and sometimes salil-like, and he is the lineal descendant of a sant of olden times. An amusing peculiarity about him is that he is always fully dressed and wears his stiff red face cap even when he sleeps. He must be comfortable in spite of that, for he spends most of the day lying down and sometimes refuses to sit up even for his food. Badami Bapu, sometimes known as Meher in an initiate pilgrim. He is an old man who used to be in government service, but he became so enamored of the spiritual life,
Enamored of this. Yeah.
enamored of spiritual life, that he left his job and dedicated himself to the pursuit of truth. He has many disciples. Scroll down. Jaivav Karthik,
Yeah. I've scrolled down. Maybe there's an internet issue on your side.
your
Or
voice is your voice is breaking for me. Okay. 22nd September 1947. Baba arrived in Ahmedabad, where he contacted four men, of whom one had been contacted twice previously in 1941. When Baba visited Ahmedabad in January and July of that year, this latter must was Habsi Badshah, known also as a Siddiqui Badshah. As in 1941, he still lives in the house of some people who look after him. He's a good must. The other three were new contacts. Barshid Mastan chides people with hard words, and become of his contact with him was not very easy and not entirely to Baba's satisfaction. He is now an old man and he lives in the house of a retired railway servant known as Qasim Master. Jamaluddin Baba has sat in a certain lane for 5 years. He is about 50 years old and is a moderate must. Baba gave him 1 rupee at the time of contact. Baba Mia is a young man, sincere seeker. 25th September 1947. After the conclusion of the contacts mentioned above, Baba left Ahmedabad and reached Abu Road on 25th September. Hereafter, renewing contact with the must known as Khuda Baksh Baba, whom he had originally contacted in 1941. See the supplement for an account of this first meeting. Baba went to Mount Abu itself. One of the reasons for visiting Mount Abu was that Baba might take a few days' rest in an agreeable hill station after the strenuous days of his visit to Surat. Baba, however, who takes time by the forelock, and to whom contact with advanced souls seems in itself to be a source of a great happiness and relaxation. Particularly if the contact is satisfactory, spend more time on Mount Abu contacting advanced souls than in resting. Key contacts are given below.
Okay, we'll stop here and probably continue Mount Abu tomorrow. So Mount Abu, Dilwara are very beautiful places in Rajasthan, hill station. So any thoughts before we wrap up?
I had a question.
Sure.
So, the places in the book they say he was a six-plane mast, was five mast or four mast.
And hear properly.
Yeah, you're not very audible. Only one try again.
Yeah, is it better?
Better. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were sharing the earphones between Amita and me, so I've
Okay.
taken both now.
Sure.
Question that came to my mind is the author states at different places he was a sixth plane mast, he was a seventh plane mast, and so on. How does he know?
Oh, so that's obviously quoted only based on Baba's inputs. I think that he clarifies right in the beginning.
I see he did. So that was my question.
Yes. So his role has been chronicler. He's only devoted recorder of the experiences that happened in this 10-year period, and that's all he's done.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So all that is stated is what Baba has told.
Correct,
obviously
correct.
at some
All those
places. Yeah.
states and the nature of the advanced souls and their roles is all mentioned by him. And in many places, he says, "This is all we know. This is all we know," and we
Hmm.
don't know what he did with them, and so on and so forth. So he reveals what he has heard, and he's being very careful. I like his style, apart from the language, which is
Hmm.
complex. His style is that of giving as much detail and as much clarity to the reader, and then he doesn't comment or doesn't give an opinion anywhere, right? So he's
Right.
very
And he
uh,
sticks to the point.
yes,
So,
yes, true
somewhere he
Brit.
mentioned uh, this program details are out of the scope of this book, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just now again thinking, last week I traveled.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Pune, and then I was in Delhi and Pune, and then I came back through Hyderabad.
Okay.
And after I came back, I was shattered. Like I was like sleeping whole Sunday. My knees were hurting, all
Yeah.
kinds of things. And look at
And look
here.
at Baba. Look at Baba.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not
Unbelievable.
comparing, but even as God in human form, his human form was superhuman,
No doubt.
right?
No
We
doubt.
we're not comparing God with humans, but human versus human, he was superhuman also.
No
And I'm
Yeah,
doubt.
not
he's
sure
just
how.
a perfect human without any
Yeah,
attachment.
I guess. Yeah. And energy. I'm thinking about the energy. How
Unbelievable.
much of energy he must have had, and how much of work. I mean, leave him aside. How were the Mandali people who were
Yes.
go, going around with him? They were ordinary humans, I guess, like us. उन बेचारों को तो I'm sure they've gone through a lot in their lifetime. I'm sure they gained also being together with him.
I think they were
Must have
more
been.
than ordinary humans, quite honestly, because I think they were all handpicked. They obviously were picked for this kind of rigor and this kind of work. There was something else that I heard in one of the videos over the last week. Again, I'll plug for Baba Zoom, guys. Please explore, have fun, and just get on Baba Zoom when you get the free time. But anyway, one of the things that I discovered, heard from Peter Nordin was each of these mandalis had a quirk. So apart
Hmm.
from having this penchant for hard work and long days and this dedication and commitment, they were also quirky in different ways.
Right.
Yeah, Nomita?
Did you say something? No. No. Hold on. I want to put it back on speaker, but uh,
Okay. So that
l-
that is
yeah,
that
keep
is
keep going. Yeah.
yeah, the quirkiness is the other aspect, right? So
Hmm.
he says that, and also he mentions how people got transformed after coming to Baba. So Erich was a much softer person towards the end, but then he was an angry young man when he came to Baba, right? But never displaying his anger to Baba, but generally, right? And then he became that soft, mature, almost sagacious person towards the end of his life. And the few videos and audios that I've heard of him, he sounds very much like that.
Right.
Right. So I think it's this whole thing is fascinating to say the least. And this book has given us a glimpse into the day-to-day workings of Baba, and the expectations he sets and the things he did.
Hello,
Yes, madam. How are you?
how is the modern day Mandali doing?
Modern day Mandali. Let me stop recording
Oh,
and
Ravi
then.
ji, what a joy to see your face.